Thank you for being here today with me. I am Freya Vilander, retired international airline pilot, author, and speaker. I wrote the book, Flying into the Night, a gripping adventure story about a woman airline pilot who found her own self-empowerment to be the mistress of her destiny. If you are interested in learning more about Flying into the Night, you can find it on Amazon.com. My name, Freya Vilander, comes from the Norse, the land of my ancestry. My ancestors are buried here, overlooking the fjords of northwestern Norway. I was the second generation to be born here in this country. I was born on Mother's Day. It was also my mother's birthday that day. Very special. But I never met my mother. She gave me up for adoption without even a glance at me, according to the social worker's report. I wonder sometimes if those feelings of abandonment is why I felt like I just didn't quite fit in. As a young person, I was called different and weird. When I first met my husband, one of the first things he said to me was, "You're different." But then he added, "I like you." So different wasn't a bad thing for him. It all came together for me when Justin Timberlake said on national TV, when I was a young person, I was always called different and weird. I'm not alone. I would say this guy's successful. Come to think of it, I've never met a millionaire who was like all the rest of the people. Different, weird, arrogant, confident. What does it take to make a difference? The old proverb, confidence should not be confused with arrogance, goes back to the time of the ancient Greeks. They told their warriors, centuries later, the fighter pilot was invented, and then the airline pilot, and the adage took on a whole new meaning. Arrogant, confident. We see the strut of the airline pilot in the airport, and we like it. No one wants an insecure pilot. The arrogant surgeon, he may kill one soul, but the pilot, if he goofs up, he'll kill many, including himself. He needs that little bit of arrogance. It's a fine line to walk. The gray-haired pilots, they call upon their experience to know what that perfect mixture is, whether they be aviating, talking at the bar, or on their bearskin rug. Then there's something called overconfidence. That's when everyone else knows, but you, that the result of your actions are going to result in nothing but disaster, and you have no one to blame but yourself. Overconfident or arrogant? arrogant? Most people believe that arrogance is negative, confidence is positive. The confident smile while the arrogant smirk. And there's this guy. He uses arrogance to cover a personal flaw. We cannot talk about arrogance or confidence without mentioning those who think differently. The ones who have no regard for the status quo. The ones who do not like the rules. You can disbelieve them, you can disagree with them, you can vilify them or glorify them, but what you cannot do is ignore them. They are the ones who make a difference. They are the ones who change the world. They are the renegades. These very words were spoken about Steve Jobs, by the way. Think about the pilgrims who came here to this country. They disassociated themselves from England, radical at the time. Our founding forefathers wrote the Declaration of Independence, and they initiated the revolt against King George. Renegades. We would not even be here as America if it were not for renegades. Now you'll find out in a minute why this guy is my favorite renegade. Evel Knievel changed the world of extreme sports. He invented himself, as well as motocross, trick bike riding, and skateboard riding. The motorcycle manufacturers even changed the way they built motorcycles because of him. But what I admire about Evel Knievel is that he always did what he said he would do, even if it meant peril to himself. And he always got up when he fell. It didn't matter if it took a little time, maybe he needed some help, but he always got up and carried on in his pursuits. He even changed the spelling of the word evil to E-V-E-L because he said he didn't truly want to be evil, but he truly made a difference and changed the world. One does not need to be epic or huge to be a renegade and make a difference. Now here's why I like Evel Knievel. It all started for me as a young girl with a motorcycle. My foster brother was in our garage rebuilding an old Indian motorcycle. I found this to be very interesting, and I kept bothering him with, "What you doing?" He ignored me, but a minute later, "Well, now what you doing?" He finally got fed up and he put me up in the rafters of the garage. Well, I had a bird's eye view, but I couldn't bother him. When he started up that engine, I had never felt such deep, throaty vibrations of power, confidence, freedom. I was in love to the depths of my soul. I rode motorcycles before I was old enough to drive a car. But what else makes deep, throaty sounds of confidence, power, and freedom? Race cars, of course. That was my next passion. And what would naturally follow next? Flying planes. What's more powerful than a 747? But if you haven't noticed already, that seemed to be my method of not dealing with things. Leave it all behind. Just ride, drive, fly. Leave leave it all behind. I might as well have been this toddler, grab her favorite blankie and stomp off. Leave it all behind. How did I become the confident airline pilot? Believe me, the male-dominated industry of professional airline pilots, this cannot be faked. I had to have a valid self-worth behind my competent confidence. How do we become who we are? Let's go back to the Norsemen for an epic example. I knew that my ancestors were pagans and farmers. Their very existence depended on their crops and their animals. But they were grateful. Every year at harvest time, they would sacrifice a lamb to their gods in gratitude. Then one day, the sun went dark. What have they done to anger the gods? Was it the end of the world? What could they do to redeem themselves now? They took their most precious maiden, a pure virgin, and sacrificed her to the gods. And it worked. The sun came back more glorious than ever. But they were wrong. What we perceive, we believe. But they were wrong. How many young women lost their lives due to a misconception? They needed those renegades, but they didn't come along for centuries. How do we believe? How do we perceive what we need to believe to become all that we want to be? The ultimate solution is to perceive something absolutely powerful and proven to make an astounding positive difference for yourself and others. Well, people have been talking about positive thinking for a long time, but there's much more to it. Let's talk about Dr. Emoto. He passed last year, about a year ago now. He did decades of astounding study and research on water. He took the same distilled water and put it into different bottles and labeled them. The first bottle he labeled, "Thank you." He praised the water. He said, "Water, if it were not for you, there would not be life. And I am so eternally grateful, thank you." He put the bottle into the freezer to freeze it. Then he took the next bottle and he labeled it, "You make me sick." He said mean things to that water. "I will kill you." He put that water into the freezer and froze it. Then he was able to look at the frozen water crystals under his microscope, and this is what he saw. I don't think I need to tell you which one is which. We are 90% water. How could we even think another mean thing about ourselves or anyone else? Positive words and word structures evoke positive emotions, which evoke positive actions, which create positive results. Here's a quote from Dr. Emoto. "Water has memory and carries with it our thoughts and prayers. As you yourself are water, no matter where you are, your prayers will be carried to the rest of the world." But wait, there's more. Let's talk a little physics. Einstein said, Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. We can actually rewire our brains by the way we think. We can change our reality with our thoughts. This is science. This is physics. This is a clip from What the Bleep Do We Know that shows how the wiring in our brain changes.
Also know that nerve cells that don't fire together no longer wire together. They lose their long-term relationship because every time we interrupt the thought process that produces a chemical response in the body, every time we interrupt it, those nerve cells that are connected to each other start breaking the long-term relationship. When we start interrupting and observing, not by stimulus and response and that automatic reaction, but by observing the effects it takes, then we are no longer the body, mind, conscious, emotional person that's responding to its environment as if it is automatic.
I am the perfect example of energies. This is how my airline career ended. We were hit by a drunk driver. This is a stock photo of a crashed car. I was told that I should at least be paralyzed, probably dead. 14 years of surgeries, physical therapy session after physical therapy session that just seemed to make me worse instead of better, living in constant pain. Suffering is very boring. I had to do something positive, something that would make a difference. This is when I wrote the book, Flying into the Night, to distract myself from all my miseries. Because of the book, I was contacted by the Dean of Aviation of a renowned university, and he said, "You can make a difference. Would you please speak to my women aviation students? They have no confidence." Wow, what an honor. I need not be a has-been. I can make a difference. I can pay it forward. Then my reality hit me. I need a walker to get around my own house. How can I travel? How can I stand in front of people and talk about confidence? Like Einstein said, it's all about energies. I went to a specialist. What can I do to get better? I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. There's not much you can do about it, the doc said. Well, how could I cope with that? How could I accept that as being the rest of my life? Energies, it's all about energies. The energies out into the universe for me is I can't accept living this way the rest of my life. And I happened across a 3-day workshop about energies, clearing energies. Sometime during that workshop, I just automatically and naturally crossed my legs while I was sitting there. I looked down and saw that my legs were crossed, and I literally yelled out, "I just crossed my legs!" And they all looked at me like, so what? I haven't done that for 14 years. Awesome. This is a view of from our lanai. At that workshop, I met a man who specializes in clearing energy blockages for the purpose of movement. Fibromyalgia is a nervous system problem within the musculoskeletal system. I lay on a table and he started clearing these blockages in my nervous system with his hands and manipulation. This man's background is in working with professional dancers. He knows movement. He knows the muscle system better than any doctor I've ever known. A student of his actually won the TV show So You Think You Can Dance. He's good at what he does. But what's very amazing is that every time he came and worked with me on clearing the energies, the fish in the lake would jump every time. It's like Einstein was from his grave screaming, it's about the energies. It's all about the energies. I believe in you. The most powerful words you can say to yourself or to anyone, they are life-giving. They mean you have value and you are needed in this universe. I have a handout, and while the handout's being passed out, I will read it to you. It's entitled The Successful Mind Declarations. Einstein knew that everything is made of energy and that energy travels in frequencies. Each declaration you state out loud carries its own vibrational frequency. That energy vibrates throughout the cells of your body. Look deeply into your own eyes in the mirror and say your declaration out loud while touching your forehead, and you can send a powerful message to your subconscious mind. A declaration, as opposed to an affirmation, states officially that we have an intention of doing or being something, an official intention to undertake a particular course of action, a formal statement of energy into the universe and throughout your body. State your declarations out loud every morning and evening. In case you don't know where to begin, remember Stuart Smalley? He has a suggestion for you. Because I'm good enough, because I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. Someone once said to me, everyone should have a picture that makes them smile and put it somewhere where you spend most of your time. Well, I began looking through my pictures, and I have lots of pictures that make me smile. They'd be all over the place. So I got an electronic photo frame, and I put in there a lot of different things. Here's my husband and our little beagle. That made me smile. My favorite thing to do makes me smile. Words to live by, that makes me smile. Acquaintances I have known, they're smiling right with me. And then there's motivation, things that make me smile as well as motivate me. To thine own self be true. Go forth and be not afraid, with that hint of arrogance where warranted. And since I am being the renegade, saying that maybe you might need a little arrogance here and there, I have to make this caution not to take it too far, or you'll end up like this guy. You want to be the amazing butt, not the ass. Believe in yourself. Know your inner self. Speak your inner value. And when you turn around from that mirror, you will have confidence. Whether your motto is throw me to the wolves and I will return leading the pack, or if it is, just leave it all behind and just ride. Have the confidence to live like someone left the gate open, and there will be bad days. And when there is, strut proud always. You should see the other chicken. Thank you for being here with me today.